Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the bell for round 3. And so far there's been no knockdowns and no 10 counts, apart from me, who forgot to tell you that if you don't know, Simon Wolfe is here tonight. Simon, stand up. He's been standing up all night. He's taking photos. And if you want a group photo, grab him and make sure you look on his website, which is, and I have it down here in front of me on a piece of paper, www.wolf.co.nz. Get them in there, get the photos taken, and make sure you get your orders, because these will be masterful pieces of memory. Now, I did tell you previously that I spent a lot of time around Wellington College. I have the good fortune of going up to the school, and I went to the archives recently and had a look through for some old school reports, and I found some of them. Work disappoints, unsatisfactory, does not prepare his homework. Keen worker, has improved. Art and craft, poor worker, very little artistic ability. Who is it? Oh, geez, they're mine. I didn't realise they were archive material at the school, but never mind, you can go and find out a little bit later on. Our masters were wonderful, and they had to put up with a bunch of guys at this table down here, and they're the class of 66, and very good. I'll try and get a few more classes mentioned. But right now we go on to an important part of the evening, and I suppose there are very few who haven't known or met John Green. He's well known around the college and around the Wellington area, an old boy of the school from 60 to 65, prefect in 65, first 15 rugby player, played rugby in Wellington. After college, he had a distinguished career in chartered accounting and corporate management and restructuring. He's been on the Wellington College board under the new Tomorrow Schools regime, the inaugural board, and he was appointed chair of the Wellington College Foundation in 1991. John married to Anne for 48 years. Their 5 sons went to Wellington College, all played in the first 15, not surprising. Some of them played senior rugby for Wellington as well. The first grandson is now at Wellington College. It's my pleasure to welcome to the stage and give him a warm hand too, John Green.
Well, thank you, Brian. Can you hear me down the back? There's a lot of noise down there. Thank goodness Brian didn't get my report out. That would have been even better. I wish to acknowledge tonight both headmasters past and present, fellow old boys, teachers, distinguished guests, past trustees, ladies and gentlemen. I further acknowledge all old boys and teachers of the college who for whatever reason could not be with us tonight. Our college motto, Lumen Accipe et Imperti. This motto is underpinned by the core values which Roger Moses so succinctly set out in the 2016 lampstand. As a belief in the importance of academic achievement for all, involvement in the arts nurtures the human spirit, participation in sport is valuable for our physical fitness and also teaches us to work with others in a team. And at the heart of Wellington College is the importance of serving others as well as ourselves. For 150 years, over 32,000 students have received the light and passed it on. College old boys are represented in all walks of life in New Zealand and around the world, from Governor-Generals to military officers and politicians, All Blacks to opera singers, scientists and farmers, tradesmen, and in business, sporting heroes and musicians, and in many other occupations. Our old boys' influence and the achievements have been inspiring and impressive, giving us all a sense of pride in our heritage and our college. But tonight I would like to focus on the last 50 years, as it has been significantly influenced me and no doubt many others here tonight. The late 1960s and 70s was a period when the college underwent massive restructuring of its facilities, and government policies at the time left much to be desired. The Memorial Hall, the West School building, and Firth House were all demolished in the 1980s on grounds of earthquake risk. The Education Department had no desire or appetite to replenish the college building stock to a standard in keeping with its history, stature at the time. The tower block, built in 1973, was a very tall concrete block structure, somewhat similar to those in communist East Germany. Does the job, but with no character. By the late 1970s, the college was tired and in need of serious rejuvenation and change in culture. Like the phoenix rising from the rubble and dust of bureaucratic mediocrity and indifference, Harvey Rees-Thomas arrived as headmaster in 1979. What a breath of fresh air. Harvey, a passionate educator with a strong Christian background, had high energy levels and was extremely charismatic and motivational, always seeking to bring the best out of everyone he met. He couldn't say no, he wouldn't take no as an answer, and he quickly made change for the better. Harvey recognised that to rebuild the college, he would need the help of old boys. This he did very effectively, and with their strong support, he was able to build the Reno Sports Centre in 1981 and the Briley Arts Centre and Theatre in 1987. Old boys continue to be the funding backbone of the college. While the Corporate Punishment Act was still in play until 2000, Harvey very early in his tenure focused on banning strapping and caning. Nor did he like bullying, especially of newcomers, and he introduced a buddy system with senior students. In 1989, the government of the day brought in Tomorrow's Schools, and these reforms shifted substantial financial and administrative responsibilities for the management of schools to elected board trustees. Trustees were elected on a 3-year cycle, mainly from parents of current students. Harvey was quick to embrace this new approach to college governance, and he also established the Wellington College Foundation, which gave opportunity for old boys to be involved. It also included representatives from the staff, students, and the Mothers Club, the primary focus being for the needs of staff and students. The new Board of Trustees focused on further building stocks to progress the college. A database of 13,000 old boys was set up, which now includes the 32,000 old boys of the college. New computer resources were brought in for senior students, and the Computer Technology Centre was built. A new college charter and code of management was established. The transition to the new regime went smoothly, largely due to Harvey's oversight. He recognised that the arts had fallen behind and saw the need to bring arts onto a level footing with the academic and sporting curriculum. The inaugural annual Wellington College Sports and Cultural Awards dinner in 1994 recognised both sport and cultural achievement. The aim was to break down the intercode jealousies and have art and sport working in a collaborative way, showing respect for each other's activities. Nerds were no longer in the vocabulary. This brought about a significant change in the thinking and in the way that the boys celebrated together the wide range of sport, music, art, drama across different cultures. And we witness that very much today. Harvey insisted on widening the provision of activities in each code so that all students could participate in an activity of their choice. Even hockey went underwater. The annual awards celebration is the highlight of the college calendar, and it is truly a remarkable occasion to attend. Harvey announced his retirement in 1995 after 17 years of outstanding service to the college. He moved from being the phoenix rising to being a champion of receiving the light, relishing new ideas as well as cherishing the traditions, standards, and pride of the college. Our challenge as a board of trustees was how to replace such a powerhouse. What huge shoes to fill. I'm sorry I don't have a photograph of Roger when he first walked in the room for the interview, but it was as if he had crawled out from under a rock. He had long hair, had a beard, very much unshaven, and I think we even asked the question of him whether he shaved at all. And he said, "You get me as I am." I am just digressing slightly because I wanted to show the photograph. I think it's just wonderful, but anyway, it's not possible to do. But the one thing that got the choice that we had as a board was to look to appoint a person who had 10 to 15 years experience as a headmaster, or to have a younger, far younger person who's only been a deputy. And it came right to the wire, and finally one of our members asked the question of Roger, "I see from one of your referees that they say that you are sometimes not good at hearing. And what do you have to say to this, Mr. Moses?" And he said, "Sorry, what did you say?" So we all burst out laughing, and we said, right, we might as well go with Roger. We're going to take a risk, but he's young and he's got energy. And his youthfulness and energy, coupled with his desire to carry on the remarkable building blocks already in place, gave Roger an excellent platform to start. He had a strong sense of purpose and a belief in academic standards. Roger has taken Wellington College to even greater heights by strengthening teacher resources and capability, so much so that since the reintroduction of the New Zealand scholarships in 2004, Wellington College has won more scholarships than any other school in New Zealand. To his credit, Roger has maintained strong relationships with old boys and is a regular visitor to the various meetings that we have throughout the country and even in Australia. His encouragement of them at the 40 Years On celebrations at the college has been an outstanding process of re-engaging old boys with their college. Like a flash in time, Roger has served 23 years as headmaster. Ian McKinnon will talk tonight on Roger's tenure, and I certainly do not wish to steal his thunder. Roger has proven to be a very special leader and headmaster and will go down in our history as one of our best. With 38 years of outstanding leadership from Roger and Harvey, it is with a great sense of pride and achievement that Wellington College has attained the good old age of 150 years. Equally exciting for me is that after 50 years, the college will start its next 150-year journey in 2018 with a new memorial hall and arts centre and a final resting place for our memorial window. Ladies and gentlemen, could I ask you to be upstanding, charge your glasses, and we want to toast Wellington College. And I need a glass. Can I borrow yours? So we all charged. So toast to Wellington College. Wellington College. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John, who only had water to drink. To respond to the toast, it's my pleasure to invite someone from the class of 73, Rob Anderson, a Deputy Principal at the college, rising through the History Department to his current position. Rob's son, Jono, was head prefect in 2006, and he's the son-in-law of John Hunt, who yesterday lit the candle as the oldest head prefect in 1946. We all know Rob Anderson. Welcome to respond to the toast on behalf of the school.
Thank you, John. Responding to your toast to the school, I too would like to acknowledge the two Wellington College headmasters who are present this evening. Their headmasterships combined total 38 years. If you add to that Seddon Hill, it's 50 years, 1/3 of Wellington College's history. In that time, Wellington College has enjoyed success in a myriad of fields: academic, sporting, cultural. The striving for excellence across the board and the enhanced reputation of the college can be ascribed to the vision, to the commitment, to the sacrificial service of Seddon Hill, Harvey Rees-Thomas, Roger Moses. On behalf of the assembled company, I'd like to thank Harvey and Roger who are here tonight. Let me illustrate. The story goes of a young lad, 16, 17 years of age, who one night had too much to drink. Saturday night, he was picked up by the police in Courtenay Place and taken down to Central Police Station. There, the police rang his parents to pick the boy up, and they didn't want a bar of it. This boy's got to learn his lesson. Throw him in the cells. So the police had little options, so they put the boy in the cells. The next morning, the sergeant checked on the boy and thought, it's not fair to charge this lad, but he does need to learn a lesson, needs some words of wisdom. And so the sergeant, who was also an old boy, rang up the headmaster and explained the situation and said, "Sir, would you please come down here and have a chat with this boy, this one of yours? I'm sure he's not a bad boy, but a few words from you would serve him well." And so the headmaster got in his car, drove down to Central, met the sergeant, went into the boy's cell. The boy was asleep, still sleeping off the night before. So patiently the headmaster sat down on the bed opposite and waited. And the boy presently woke up, yawned, kind of came to, looked around and saw his headmaster there. Said, "Strike, sir. What did they nick you for?" It is fitting that we celebrate 150 years of the college. Not only is it an appropriate time to reflect on what has gone before, it's good to catch up with old friends, old colleagues, to reminisce. It's a good thing too to celebrate success and to mark the passing of time. I believe it's all the more fitting this year. If I think back 100 years to 1917, the college's 50th anniversary celebrations would have been fairly muted if they had occurred at all. Back then, the school community, like other communities up and down the land, were reeling with the horrific losses on the battlefields of Flanders. How much has changed since that time? If you look at the Wellingtonian of 1917, it shows the traditional sports of rugby, cricket, boxing, athletics. On Monday this week, we had our annual Black and Gold Awards, the dinner recognising excellence in the sport and arts. Among the nominees for the Senior Sportsman Award were students who played underwater hockey, taekwondo, touch, orienteering, futsal, inline hockey, karate, and mountain biking. Not only would students of 100 years ago scratch their heads and wonder what these sports were, but I dare say students of 1967 and 1992 would do likewise. Such has been the rate of change, and this is only in one field of endeavour. When old boys gather to reminisce in 2067 for the bicentennial, I wonder what significant changes in Wellington College would have occurred that would cause the students of today to scratch their heads in wonder. But when old boys do gather in 50 years, may it be with a continued sense of pride about the rich legacy we have and pride in the continued stellar achievements of the boys and the staff at Wellington College. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you, Rob. And any of you who are going in 2067, could you just take my apology with you? I won't be available. I always feel sorry for kids who have to leave Wellington College and go somewhere else. I feel sorry for the ones who parents get work in Auckland and they have to leave Wellington College and start at an Auckland college. And one such child went up to Auckland and was confronted with a teacher who said to the class, as she greeted everybody, she said, I'm so-and-so, the teacher's name, and she said, I voted Labour at the elections and I'm a great Auckland Blues fan. And all the kids cheered, except for the Wellington College boy. And she wasn't very pleased about that, so she walked over to him and she said, what's your name, son? He said, Daniel's my name. Why did you not support the rest in your class? He said, because I'm not an Auckland Blues supporter and I'm not old enough to vote. She said, well, that's a disgrace. She said, what do you follow? And he says, well, I'm a Hurricane supporter. Why are you a Hurricane supporter? Because my parents are Hurricane supporters. And the teacher really got on board this. She said, what do you mean you vote for the Hurricanes because your parents are Hurricane supporters? What happens if your parents, you don't think on yourself for yourself? What happens if your parents were your father was a moron and your mother was stupid? He said, oh, that's easy. I'd be an Auckland Blues supporter then. Sorry, you Aucklanders. Our next special guest this evening, again, is someone who needs little introduction, a man who's had a strong bond with the education community. He was at King's College in Auckland, Eton College in Britain, Deputy Headmaster in 1988, Headmaster of Whanganui Collegiate, and also the head at Scots College from 1992 to 2002. Former Deputy Mayor of... You got it! If you get the next one right, you get a free trip. Deputy Mayor for 6 of the 9 years he was on the Wellington Council. He's a Justice of the Peace, has been awarded the honour of QSO and CNZM, and he's here tonight to propose a toast to the current Headmaster, Roger Moses. Please welcome Ian McKinnon.
Well, this is indeed an honour, let me assure you, to be present at this dinner for the 150th anniversary of a school I certainly greatly respect, a respect that I developed, I guess, over 37 years. In fact, it goes back further than that, from the time I was a boarder at Nelson College. And out of sensitivity to you tonight, I won't go over the fact that from 1957 to 61, the tournament was won 4 times by Nelson and once by Wellington, but I won't pursue that line. It's a real privilege also, it's a real privilege for me to propose a toast to the Headmaster Roger Moses in this anniversary year, because I certainly hold him in very high regard. I value him as a close colleague of a rival school and still do as a very, very good friend. Ina mana, ina rio, ina iwi. No mai, hare mai, piki mai, tena koutou, tena tātou katoa. Before proposing that toast, though, I want to join others in acknowledging the presence of former headmaster, Mr. Harvey Rees-Thomas. During his headship at Wellington, we overlapped when I was at both Wanganui Collegiate School and Scots College. And in Harvey Rees-Thomas, you have another very well-regarded headmaster. I've sat there with interest during the speeches and the choir, and I reflected on the fact that old boys' dinners have their challenges for speakers, even the speaker who's proposing the toast to the headmaster. Occasionally, a restlessness creeps in, particularly amongst the distant tables. Well, you know, to be quite frank, in great schools, not all of you can be bloody school prefects, you know. There's got to be a few at the back row. And this potential restlessness might explain why the organiser of the dinner tonight said to me, "You've got 5 minutes." Well, you know, to be quite frank, headmaster speaks for only 5 minutes. I'll tell you, that'd be a good sort of, I suppose it'd almost be a TUI ad on the Hutt Road. Headmaster speaks for only 5 minutes. No headmaster has ever spoken for just 5 minutes. I remember once, and I'm telling you this by way of warning, in one of the schools I looked after, I had to speak to 9 old boy gatherings every year. And one of those gatherings in Taranaki, my wife and I arrived. The dairy farmers crept in over a 2-hour period. At 9:30, we sat down for dinner. I was called upon to speak at 11:15. You know the impact of alcohol? There wasn't a cow cocky awake in the whole damn room, but I'm letting you know now that if some of you decide to follow that pattern, I'll tell you what I did. I gave them my whole bloody speech, all 25 minutes of it, as they snored their way through it. Anyway, to put the mind of the organiser at rest, I'll now start my 5 minutes. Roger Moses is according to that splendid history of Wellington College written by that well-known and former board chairman, Win Beasley, and I see he's here tonight. And he wrote his history in honour of the 125th anniversary. And Roger is listed as the 13th headmaster of the college, and as already been said, has held that position for the past 23 outstanding years. His time in office is exceeded only by that of the well-known J.P. Firth, who served for 29 years. At the college's foundation, or rather I might add the year it commenced, but I won't elaborate further on that point, there was a co-headship. Mind you, of political party. There was a co-headship. 2 headmasters jointly ran the school. That lasted for just 2 years. Now that didn't surprise me, and it shouldn't surprise any of you who know anything about headmastering, because simply headmasters like to be the only one on the bridge. One headmaster at a time is quite sufficient for the boys of the school too, I might add. So, whereas Roger doesn't overtly show that dictatorial style, let me say this, he's the admiral on the deck of Wellington College for these past 25 years. He and I came... don't applaud him too often. Just, you know, you've got him for another couple of terms. Don't overdo it. He and I came to know each other very, very well at that testing location in Wellington. And I wonder if you know where that testing location is. It's that place on Wellington winter nights when there's a southerly blowing. It's as bad as it gets. It's the Mount Albert Hockey Stadium. And on those miserable evenings, miserable whatever the result, he and I would discuss education. Essentially, what was required for a great school. But possibly, and not surprisingly, our views didn't always mesh with the Ministry of Education thinkers, nor with the views of academic experts. In fact, we used to mull over that wonderful Jesuit principle that anybody who writes an education theory should have to teach a fourth form class on a humid, hot summer afternoon on a Friday. I might add, and I say this very quietly, we actually also put the same principle against some of the parents, and dare I say even more quietly, against some of the board members, who, because they had gone through school, all saw themselves as experts in education. Well, let me put it another way. I said that very quietly because Roger's salary is still at stake for a couple of other terms. Very quickly, I realized that with Roger Moses, here was a person who was deeply committed, in fact passionate about all areas of schooling, constantly questioning himself about what makes a great school, and realizing open, thoughtful leadership offered to a dedicated staff, which in turn is committed to the effective all-round learning of every student. That comes about as close as you can to what creates a good school. Roger Moses has had 23 outstanding years, captured, I believe, in the essence of great figures in the schools, the 3 E's. And actually, John Green mentioned one of them as he was standing here. The 3 E's: energy for the job, for an acceptance of the long hours, and for the realization that addressing the daily left field events is part of the role. Energy, enthusiasm for all aspects of schooling, be they curricular or extracurricular, be they managerial or pastoral. It's a wide-ranging role. And empathy for all there. The students and staff, one can't lead without empathy. Also for the parents and their aspirations, for the old boys, and even I might add for the benefactors that walk past the gates. Roger Moses captures those of energy, enthusiasm, and empathy magnificently. I mention that because he captures it better than most heads I've known, and he does it effectively. And I want to mention here the support, understanding, and tolerance of his lovely wife, Roz, in giving him that support over those 23 years. And as I finish, let me say that those 23 years reflect the high degree of talent and ability, professionalism and personal qualities, not least his own personal values very much focused on people. the values of this headmaster, Roger Moses. Old boys, your college is indeed fortunate in its headmaster and this 150th anniversary years. And I ask you now to charge your glasses and to be upstanding. I give you the toast to the headmaster of Wellington College's 150th year, to his 23 years in its history, and I add to a sound person in all respects. A toast, Roger Moses.
Thank you, Ian. I see there's a lot of people enjoying these toasts now, as well you should do. They're longer sips. Well, the man needs no introduction, so I'm not going to give him one. We've toasted Roger Moses. Give him a warm round of applause to respond.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I assure you, I realise that I'm the only person between you and your main course, and so I will be 5 minutes. Welcome to everybody. Wonderful to have you here, and it's been an absolutely fantastic weekend. First of all, Ian, thank you very much for your kind words. I greatly appreciate the tremendous friendship and encouragement that you gave to me when I was a young headmaster, and you, of course, were much older. It is a friendship that has continued and flourished over the years since you left Scots in 2002. I'm actually very mindful of the great friendship that existed between my own headmaster at Auckland Grammar, Sir Henry Cooper, and your old boss, Jeff Greenbank, the legendary headmaster of Kings. As a measure of the respect in which Greenbank was held by the grammar community, he was asked to deliver the key address at the Grammar Centennial in 1969. Now, Ian actually took Greenbank to that centennial, drove him home. Unfortunately, he got a ticket on the way and Ian had to pay for the ticket. But I have actually a very poignant memory of those two gentlemen, of Henry and Jeff Greenbank, seated together in earnest conversation at the inter-secondary school swimming sports held at the Newmarket Pool. The swimming occurred as the real contest took place between the Kings and Grammar supporters on the terraces, with the exchange of a barrage of eggs and fruit that continued unabated throughout the afternoon. For the young grammar boy who became the headmaster of Wellington College, it was invaluable training for the future challenges of the McKevity Shield. Talking of the McKevity Shield, no one understands that unique challenge better than my wonderful predecessor and close friend, Harvey Rees-Thomas. I've often spoken of the unequivocal support that Harvey has given me over the years and the fantastic legacy that he left me in 1995. Wellington College has only had Rees-Thomas and Moses for nearly 40 years, and I see any success that the college has had over that period as very much the consequence of a tag team. In a very real way, Harvey's time, I think, signified a rebuilding of the school, not only physically, but also in terms of spirit. We share an identical philosophy of education, a belief that Wellington College's heritage is of vital importance, and I think most crucially, a shared Christian belief, which is the foundation from which we have both operated. Harvey chose not to sit at my table this evening, but rather with his family, which I think is indicative of his values. But ladies and gentlemen, he's been on stage, but I'm going to ask Harvey to stand and for you all to acknowledge a great leader who has impacted so many lives, not just at Wellington College, but also at Hibs, where he came, did a rescue job there for 3 years, King's School, it was the prep school, Brian, and St Andrew's College in Christchurch. What if you'd stand, please, Harvey, and if we could acknowledge a great man. Thank you. No school can function effectively without incisive leadership from the Chairman of the Board of Trustees. And I've been particularly fortunate to have the support of 6 great people who have fulfilled that role so effectively. Tonight, we are privileged to have 3 in attendance. Mr. John Green, who has already spoken, and of course is completely to blame for appointing me. I can't believe, John, it's 23 years ago. Lovely to have you and Anne here tonight. John was recently appointed at QSM for the great work that he did after leaving the world of business and leading the charge to clean up the Rotorua Lakes. My very good friend, Mr. Tim Castle, from the class of '67 is here. He's a very well-known, prominent barrister who succeeded John in 1998 and also continues to take a great interest in the college. Tim's 3 sons all attended college in my time. Ben, his eldest, some of you will know, played a great deal of Super Rugby and is now commentating. And I'm delighted that my very good friend, Professor Neil Quigley, who was chairman of the college for 4 years when he was the Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Victoria, that he and Noreen have flown down from Hamilton to be with us tonight. Neil, of course, is now the Vice-Chancellor of Waikato University. John, Tim, and Neil, thank you guys so much for supporting me and the college. And in all 3 cases, I very much value our enduring friendship. Can we give them a round of applause too? It would be remiss of me not to thank my senior management team who have given me great support over the years. It's very nice people say that I've done a great job, but boy, they've covered my backside a lot. Nearly fell off that yesterday as well, so anyway. Look, I'd like to thank them individually. My great mate Gary Gervin, who was the deputy when I came, and come on, Gary, stand up. Yeah, very good. Mike Palin, a great guy, Mike. If Mike could stand too. Dave Ashby is not here tonight, but Rob Anderson already is here. Well done. John Mills was here. He's gone back down to Christchurch. But Gregor Fountain, a wonderful young DP who is now doing a superb job as the principal of Parapara Umu College. I wonder if Gregor would stand, please. Well done, Gregor. And 3 of my current deputies who have been working all day, not old boys, but Mr. Dave Thorpe, Mr. Darryl Harvey, and Mr. Phil Bergen, all wonderful individuals who've made my job very entertaining, very enjoyable, and deeply fulfilling for over 22 years. Thanks, guys, for the memories. Thanks also for the many staff and hundreds of students who've been with me on my journey. I met so many last night. Thanks, fellas. Great to see you all here tonight. I would also just like to thank a couple of other people. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the wonderful contribution made by one of my great friends who is known to so many of the old boys. Mrs. Patty Ann Neely has done a superlative job in developing the Wellington College archives and retired earlier this year after a short bout of ill health. I'm pleased to say that she's really recovered well since then. It is only appropriate that old boys throughout the world acknowledge the work that Patty Ann has done in preserving the history of our college and for the great friend and supporter she's been to me. I'd like you to stand too, please, Patty Ann. Well done. I've actually got 2 mates, and you won't believe it, but they're both here this evening. One is the retiring rector of St Pat's Silverstream. Don't boo, because he's most importantly, he's been the rector of both St Pat's Town, St Pat's Silverstream. He learned it all when he worked with me at Wellington College. Jared Tully, if you would stand please, Jared. Well done. And my other good mate, he was a student teacher with me in 1983 at Auckland Grammar School. I persuaded him to apply for the job of Rongotai College, and he's doing a wonderful job there rebuilding that school. Mr. Kevin Carter, if you would stand too, please, Kev. My 5 minutes is probably up, but anyway, I'm going to go on for another 30 seconds. Look, finally, and this person doesn't like the limelight, but with a real sense of gratitude, I want to thank my long-suffering and utterly supportive wife, Ros, who has had to do so much of raising our own 3 children over the past 23 years, and more recently our 4 grandchildren. Ros has spent countless evenings and weekends on her own while I've attended the business of the college. She says that she is keen to have me at home more during evenings and weekends, but I fear that her wish may be very short-lived. I'm going to ask my loving wife, Ros, to come on stage and receive a bouquet of flowers, which is much deserved. You've heard enough from me over the last 2 or 3 days. Thank you all for coming and celebrating our great school. As with Harvey, being the head of Wellington College will always be the greatest privilege we've ever had in our working life. Gents and ladies, enjoy the evening. Thanks very much.
All right.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you very much, Roger. Some lovely words there for all the people who have been a support to Wellington College. And they're on their feet down the far end. They must have been left out of the first 15 or something, I'm not sure. Never mind. Dinner is about to be served, and very shortly after this small dinner break, another big highlight of the night will take place. That's in around about half an hour or so. So enjoy your meal. Please do.